Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of Kerbal Space Program 2 Exploration Mode. In the last episode, we took one vessel and we completed 3 different contracts in one go. And those 3 contracts was the Perfect Circle, Escaping Kerbin, and Lonely Satellite. But in this episode, we are going to go back to the Mun because something important has happened. Mission Control picked up a mysterious signal that seemed to be originating from a fixed point on the Mun's surface. We need you to investigate. Let's get a mission brief real quick from Carrie. Director, thank goodness you're here. Something strange has happened. Mission Control was monitoring our comms when we picked up a mysterious signal. Listen. It seems to be originating from a fixed point on the surface of the Mun. This could be the greatest scientific discovery of our generation. We need you to investigate. Your objective is to find the source of the strange signal originating from the Mun. The signal is unusual and keeps repeating the same thing over and over. It sure is catchy. Since we know where you are going, we can provide you a waypoint that you can view in the tracking station and in flight when you're near to the signal's location. Be careful, Director. Stay alert. Alright, so let's go and make our rocket. But this time, I'm going to do something a little bit different before we get into the VAB. I'm actually going to speed up the process and do a bit of commentary over the building of the ship. So that way, the episode's not as long as the other ones. I mean, if you guys do enjoy the longer episodes where you see me do the process in real time, let me know in the comments down below. Because otherwise, I think I'll speed it up this time. And also speeding up me going to the Mun as well. So, yep, I just want to hear you guys' opinion. But without further ado, let's go into the VAB and start building our vessel, shall we? So here we are in the VAB, and here we are getting started with our very own Mun vessel. So I started off by wanting to maybe make a separate lander for it, but I'm like, you know what? We're gonna do what we usually do and just make the last stage part of the lander as well, which I know later on we are going to have to actually make a separate lander for this and an actual mothership, which I need to get practice on on docking, which is going to be interesting. But as usual, we have the solar panels, we have the landers there, which I was struggling for a second there trying to find them. Command pod, parachute, communications. Then we put on the fairing too. And so I was also trying to think of how I wanted to actually stage this because I wanted to look at this quadcoupler as well. I put a long stage there with the swivel engine, and then I put the quadcoupler underneath, as you can see, and then I put 2 sets of tanks on each part of the quadcoupler, and then I finished it off with those swivel engines. And I was looking at my Delta V, and at one point I even looked at the planner to see if I actually would have enough when it came to actually getting to the Mun. As you can see right here, a round trip. It always says 10,000, but really you can just take away the number for Kerbin getting into Kerbin low orbit and all that, because really you're just going to do a straight shot back into Kerbin's atmosphere and just, you know, end your mission right there. But I'm adding these stabilizers here just to make it a little bit more stable, obviously, but make it look better too. But I didn't think this was finished yet because I'm like, you know what, I need to add an extra stage just in case, you know, we don't actually have enough there. And it kind of helped in the long run, kind of, sort of. You'll come and find out. But here we are on the runway. Now, what's very interesting about what happened on the runway, which you'll see in a second, is, as you saw, I put the struts on the tanks there, and I thought it was going to be stable, right? But apparently the Kraken decided to show me who's boss right after I decide to situate my staging there, but you'll see in just a second. So as we start launching, my rockets, they just started freaking out. Like, the Kraken just was not having it. So I had to revert back, and hopefully reverting back actually fixed it, and then I had to redo the entire set of the staging, because when I added that, technically count as a last stage, but I needed to make it in the right order. But we finally lifted off. And here we are going up in the atmosphere. And I do have this sped up quite a bit just because, this is at 5 times speed, the normal speed, just because it does take some time to get from Kerbin to the Mun, not gonna lie. I mean, this entire recording took maybe like about an hour because I ran into some difficulties as we're actually making our way back to Kerbin, but I'll cover that in just once we get to that point. But as usual, you want to, start slowly tilting when you reach like 10,000 meters, or I start tilting when I do 100 meters per second. It's really, just as long as your tilt's not too extreme, or if it's not, like you're not straight up in the air and you're way too high up, it should be fine. So, then you go to your apoapsis and then you start burning your periapsis too. And what I did here is I didn't do any maneuver nodes whatsoever for the Mun, because what you need to do for this is all you just gotta see is like when you see the Mun in the horizon right there, you're good to go. Just start burning prograde and then just make it to the moon, and then you got an instant capture. And then you see me messing around with the maneuver nodes because with the signal, we actually have to land where that yellow dot is on the Mun, because that's our target there. That's where the signal is. And I had to burn a normal direction. That's what's called normal, and then there's anti-normal. I had to bring up a tilt a little bit so that way I actually had more leverage when it came, or have a better accuracy when it came to landing where our target was. So yeah, I had a hard time with the camera too there, but we finally make it to the Mun, and I had to get rid of that final stage there, and all we have left is the actual landing stage, landing/final stage, which was more than enough to actually, get into the Mun's orbit, bring it down, the apoapsis down, periapsis down well enough, and then here we are about to cross paths with the actual monument that we're supposed to go, or the signal actually. But we weren't directly on top of it, so I had to burn between retrograde and anti-normal in order for me to get to the right point. But guess what? I overshot it just a tiny bit, so I had to really bring out the burn. But as we slowly descend, I'm going to send you guys over to actual Savvy, so that way he can show you exactly what the experience is on the Mun. And touchdown. Look at that. That is amazing. We finally made it to the surface of the Mun once again, and we have about 1,000 Delta V left, which should be enough to get us back home. So we finally made it, and look what's in the distance. It's the monument, which, by the way, back in KSP1 there actually was an archway like this, but it was completely made of rock, and there was like a bit, I think in the beginning it was just a rock arch where there was nothing revealed, and then an update came out way later in the game where a piece of it actually was revealed. So it's quite fascinating. But this is a great spot to land in because it's actually a flat area. Definitely a very, well, not completely flat, but it's flat enough to actually have a smooth landing such as we did. So Bill has the honor of actually being the one to make it to the signal. So we're gonna bring out our RCS, and we're just gonna scooch along here until we make it to the signal. And this actually, I mean, I could definitely have landed a lot better. I could have done a better trajectory, but 1.5 kilometers isn't that bad considering, to be honest. I've had worse where I've been, like, there was a Duna landing that I did in one of my streams where literally I had to, I was probably like more than 5 kilometers away. So it was definitely not a good time, and it took forever to actually get to the monument that was there. But fortunately enough, this isn't too bad. I mean, obviously I could have probably landed literally on top of it or right next to it, but this isn't bad considering, you know, trial and error type of game. But here we are. We finally got it completed. And what's funny is before that, we actually got something completed too, as I mentioned earlier during the phase where we're speeding up time. But look at this. Oh gosh, I can't. Look at that. Now that is gorgeous. That is beautiful. Look at that. And what's interesting is that these bright lights here represent every celestial body in the Kerbal system. The middle one is obviously is Kerbal. We have Moho right here, which is closest. The pink one is Eve with Gilly as its moon. We have Kerbin here with both moons. We have, the Mun, which is what we're on right now, and we also have Minmus. Then we have Jewel as well, which is right here. And I've noticed something a little bit interesting. Oh wait, never mind. My eyes are deceiving me. But we have Jewel right here with 1, 2, 3, 4, with 5 of its moons here. We also have, which I skipped one, we have Duna here with its moon, Ike. We also have Drez as well, which Drez is like it's a large, not a large, it's like a large asteroid. It's kind of in replication or like a similar to Ceres in the real solar system. And then finally we have Elu, which is the final planet of the solar system. But that is gorgeous. This calls for a screenshot, so give me just a moment while I take a screenshot. There we go. There we go. All right, well, we're not done yet because we've completed the mission, but we also need to take into account some science. We have to run a crew observation, and we have to take a surface survey as well, because the surface around this monument is completely different compared to the rest of the Mun's surface. So right here we have the jewels seem to represent our system. Are those kraken running up the sides? What is this thing? Yep, look at that. Interesting. But let's go ahead and take that surface survey. And let's see what we can get from this, shall we? What does it say? The arch is too hard to break a piece off to examine. What tests we can run confirm this arch is comprised of a new element? And we got 144 science for that, which is awesome. And you know what? I'm gonna plant a flag here because we need to commemorate this. Mun Arch. What a beauty of mysterious architecture. And there we go. We'll plant a flag right in front of this arch to commemorate our moment of seeing this for the very first time in this series. And there we go. Look at that. All right, so now we can head back to our ship and we can leave the Mun once and for all. Yeah, and the music is just wonderful too. If you guys were listening to the music that was just playing as I was talking, very epic music. But as we go away, the music stops and we're sent into the void of the rest of the Mun. I can't wait for us to actually, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to be introducing more science stuff, not just for rockets, but also science gathering. Like you see all these rocks here. I would love at some point, like in KSP1, where you could find physical rocks that you just don't, go through, and you actually be able to scan them, pick them up, take them back to Kerbin for study, etc., etc. Ooh. That was a hard land right there, but I'm sure that they have plans for that at some point. And I'm sure that they're working on the next major update, which I am looking forward to. which I believe is colonies, if I'm not mistaken. Also, what happened to the ship here? Why is it lopsided like this? I mean, a lot of questions that I'm asking, but don't really have the answer to. But without further ado, let's go back and head home to our beautiful planet named Kerbin. All right. All right, so as we make our way out from the mun, we start burning away, and I start tilting pretty much directly 90 degrees, but I also give myself some angle. It's just that way we can actually get above the mun's surface. And I don't know why I took a risk here, but I thought I would have enough delta V here in order for me to burn all the way down from the direction I was facing. Was not a smart idea, as you come to find out, because I barely have any fuel left when it comes to this. But I just keep burning until I actually run out. And this is the part that gave me some trouble. So I literally went and took Bill Kerman, brought him out of the vessel, and used him with RCS to push the vessel in retrograde direction until we get to a comfortable periapsis for us to actually land back on Kerbin, you know, finish the mission. So I actually go with this for quite some time. And what's really nice is it does this in Kerbal Space Program 1 as well, where if I'm running low on monopropellant, as you can see in the top right, I can just go back into the vessel, come back out, and then I get filled up on monopropellant again. So it's not as if like I have a limited amount. I only have a limited amount when I'm outside of the vessel, but essentially I have an infinite amount of monopropellant as long as I have enough to get back into the vessel and come back out again. And so I just continue to do this over and over and over again until I actually get, as you can see, the numbers dropping down significantly on the bottom left where the PE is, until I get to the point where I'm at 50,000 meters. Yeah, 50,000 meters, which for Kerbin's atmosphere, it is roughly, well, not roughly, but it is 70,000 meters high. That is how high the atmosphere is on Kerbin. So if you're beyond that, then, you know, you're pretty much in space. But if you're below that, then you're going to be slowly falling. And depending on the height, you'll fall faster or you'll fall slower. But as you can see, I'm still just pushing. And this didn't take as long as I thought it was going to be, but I do have this sped up to the same time as everything else just because it was quite tedious to do. But, you know, we had to get this mission done somehow. And the vessel's not too big for me not to push it. Because, you know, let's say if we had 2 stages or something, then it would definitely take a lot longer of a time to push this vessel. But this one's just a final stage / lander that has no more fuel. So, I mean, it's pretty much just an empty shell. But luckily, we finally reach below Kerbin's atmosphere, as you can see, and I get back into the vessel, and I speed up time, and we make our way down to Kerbin slowly but surely. And the problem is that I lost communications there, which was very weird because that's the first time that's ever happened to me. But I retract everything, I decouple, and we have just the command pod with the heat shield underneath. But I guess what? I wouldn't say it's much of a problem, but I ran into something else that was silly. I had to fall multiple times into the atmosphere until it finally put me down to a consistent falling motion where I was actually going to land on Kerbin at the end, which is pretty funny. So I have to keep going around and around until I finally have an apoapsis that is below the atmosphere as well. So this was just a funny time, and this is kind of a lesson to learn to not that I definitely was a little underprepared. I didn't have as much delta V as I should, and I really should have implemented something that I should have shown you guys, which I'll probably show you in the next episode, but doing asparagus staging rather than what I was doing with the adapter. But, you know, it's fine. But we do one more rotation here, and that final rotation actually gets me into the atmosphere. And I thought I was going to land in the desert for a second, or even the ocean, But no, we actually land somewhere quite interesting, which you'll soon to find out in just a moment. But what's actually funny is instead of actually landing quite safely, I made the mistake by not going into... I decided not to revert back to normal speed, and I kept it at 4 times speed, and we crashed into the ground. And I was kind of in disbelief for a moment, as you could see, as I'm just sitting on the screen here. But what happened instead is I decided to revert back to an autosave, and luckily this autosave actually was when we were falling down to Kerbin's surface fully, where we were in both apoapsis and periapsis in Kerbin's atmosphere. But luckily, this time I did the smart move and I actually went back to normal time and I deployed the parachute, as you can see here. But look at the shield underneath the heat shield, or look at the heat shield. It's like grayed out because of how much heat there is. But I'm gonna pass it off to the actual Savvy as we start landing on the mountains, which is really cool. This is where we end up in the end. But yeah, I'm gonna pass it off to the real Savvy, and yeah, we'll see how this experience goes in the mountains. So we're finally on Kerbin, and it was pretty funny how I had to revert back to a save because, or at least an autosave, because the parachute didn't want to deploy, probably because I had time warp up. But if you stand in just the right spot, you can see for kilometers in every direction. And I definitely want to get some science from the surface survey too, because we've never been in the mountains before. This is our first time actually landing in the mountains of Kerbin, so let's see what this entails. Samples consist primarily of sedimentary and metamorphic rock formed under high pressure and low temperature. Alright, well, this was quite the endeavor, but we can finally recover our vessel, and we completed 2 contracts. So we're going to go back to Mission Control, and we're going to turn in our Munar signal contract. Director, you're back! My goodness, we can't believe that you found... Oh, we can't believe what you found. If we didn't have visuals, we'd have thought it was a prank. Did you notice the bronze filigree of the arch? I swear I was looking at the exact shade to tile in my bathroom. Did you also notice the crystal spheres on the arch? At first I thought, wow, it's a bit gaudy, but then I realized there's a pattern. Did you notice how bright the crystal at the center is? Like a certain sun that you shouldn't stare at directly into. And the 7 crystals that surround it? Guess how many celestial bodies orbit Kerbal? I've jokingly referred to Kerbin as a blue marble before, but it turns out I'm not the only one who sees it that way. What an architectural marvel. Whoever made this had serious skills. Why is it there? Mission Control is workshopping 2 theories. 1, an installation artist snuck on board prior to the Mun landing and built it while we were eating cake. 2, maybe it's symbolic of something. The signal keeps repeating over and over. We think it might be a message. Maybe it will tell us how the arch got there. Mission Control has all hands on deck, decoding the message you received. So exciting. Come back when you're ready for an update. And we did it! We found the source of the mysterious signal on the Mun. And we've also completed its eccentric, which I wasn't even planning on doing that. Congratulations on a successful mission. The musicians at Ionic, Symphonic, Protonic, Electronics are relieved. Of course, now they want their spaceship. We can discuss that later. For now, please feel free to rest and enjoy a complimentary copy of Ionic, Symphonic, Protonic, Electronics CD Collection, 2001 Songs for Space. Easy peasy. So, it seems like we have 2 more. So there's a bad signal one. Orbit a probe with a communications antenna above Minmus. So we're actually going to be going to Minmus now, but not landing or anything, but setting up communications with Minmus. And it seems like we also have something here, which is launch a vessel with at least 4 wheels. So maybe we could make a rover at some point? Possibly. But we're going to go to the R&D center, and we have lots of science we could spend. 727 to be exact. So I'm just going to do this page a favor and just completely buy out everything in page 1. And now we have 527 to go, which I think one of the best things to do for this would be to invest in maybe possibly more of these adapters here, because we definitely need to make more variety of craft if we want to go the further distances. So precision machinery, I think, is going to be important for this. But in the next episode, we are going to be going to Minmus as a probe, and we'll see what Minmus looks like up close and personal. So if you guys did enjoy this, be sure to leave a like if you haven't already. I would really appreciate that. And don't forget to hit subscribe as well, because that lets me know that you guys enjoy the content on the channel and would like to see more. I've been Savvy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys! See you later.